Think about eating premium ice cream, the way the metal spoon slides through the pint and how it melts effortlessly on your tongue. Compare that to the forgotten pint you pull from the back of your freezer months later. You take a bite, and instead of smooth, it feels like an icy puck, gritty, sandy. While the ingredients in the container haven't changed, the physical structure has. Two pints with the exact same recipe can feel like two different products based entirely on a single microscopic measurement. Ice cream quality is dictated by crystal size in micrometers. A human hair is 100 micrometers wide. Premium crystals land between 10 and 20 micrometers, blurring into a smooth sensation. Cross 50, and your tongue registers individual grit. Maintaining ice cream quality is a strict matter of managing microscopic geometry to stay below that 50 micrometer detection line. Most people assume that placing a liquid in a freezer halts its physical transformation. In reality, ice cream is an active chemical suspension. Even at -18°C, a portion of the water inside remains completely liquid. This unfrozen water acts as a highway for molecules to move. Every time you open your freezer door to grab a snack, you provide the energy for that movement to accelerate. Brief waves of warmer air allow the smallest crystals to soften and rearrange, pushing them closer to the 50 micrometer ruin threshold. This turns every pint in your freezer into a fragile chemistry experiment. The suspension is constantly degrading, driven by the laws of physics toward a state of gritty, crystallized failure. To understand how to preserve that texture, we have to look at the manufacturing environment where these crystals are born. This diagram shows nucleation, the simultaneous birthing of millions of tiny ice crystals. In a high-end commercial freezer, the goal is to trigger this process as aggressively as possible. By pulling heat out of the liquid instantly, the water has no time to grow into large shapes. It is forced to form millions of microscopic seeds instead. Industrial manufacturers achieve this by using a freezing barrel chilled to -30°C. Mechanical constraints complicate this process. A spinning blade called a dasher whips air into the mix while scraping the walls, but that movement also generates friction heat. The machine is essentially fighting itself, trying to freeze the mix while the energy of the dasher tries to melt it. This industrial environment is impossible to replicate in a standard home kitchen. Most home freezers sit at -18°C. Even a countertop maker rarely drops below -20. Without the shock of -30°, you don't get the rapid burst of nucleation needed for 10 micrometer crystals. The first crystals form slowly, and because they have more time to grow, they are larger the moment the motor stops. Without massive thermal shock to force instant nucleation, a homemade batch starts its life cycle already physically larger and structurally compromised. Even if a premium pint is perfectly engineered at 15 micrometers, its structure is under constant attack from a process called recrystallization. Recrystallization is a slow shift in the crystal population that occurs without the ice cream ever actually melting. This animation shows the energy cost of a small crystal. Small crystals have a high surface-to-volume ratio, which requires more energy for the system to maintain. To reach a lower energy state, water molecules detach from the surfaces of small crystals and migrate through the unfrozen liquid to bond with larger crystals. The small ones disappear, and the big ones grow. Throughout this molecular migration, the total volume of ice remains identical. You aren't losing frozen water, you are simply concentrating it into fewer, more painful forms. At -5°C, the temperature of a kitchen counter tracks the average crystal size. The factory ships the pint at a perfect 15 micrometers, but inside a delivery truck, temperature fluctuations cause the average to drift up to 18. At the supermarket, open-top freezer cases run defrost cycles that gently warm the top layer of every pint. This pushes the average to 21 micrometers. A 20-minute carbide followed by 10 minutes sitting on your kitchen counter adds 8 full micrometers of growth. By the time you take your first scoop, the crystals have reached 29 micrometers. The pint is already halfway to the 50 micrometer ruin threshold before you have even tasted it. Home refrigerators with auto defrost cycles continue this damage by swinging the internal temperature for hours at a time, keeping the crystals in a constant state of flux. Every door opening and every minute on the counter acts as an accelerant. These heat shocks cause the ice cream to age structurally 10 times faster than if it were kept at a constant temperature. Manufacturers attempt to slow this decay by using stabilizers and gums. These are biological polymers like guar, locust bean, and carrageenan. These ingredients do not change the freezing point of the water. Instead, they change the physical environment the water molecules must travel through. These polymers dissolve into the unfrozen liquid to create a highly viscous gel. This network creates a physical barrier. Water molecules moving from small to large crystals get caught in the webbing, keeping the crystals small for a longer period. Specific combinations, like a 9:1 ratio of sodium alginate and carrageenan, can slow crystal growth enough to maintain a smooth texture for up to 16 weeks. Ice cream labeled as clean label often lacks these stabilizers. Without the polymer gel to slow down the water molecules, these products typically become gritty in less than 14 days. Stabilizers act as structural shields, extending the lifespan of the pint by physically obstructing the natural processes of crystallization. Texture is also influenced by overrun, which is the percentage of air whipped into the mix. Millions of microscopic air cells act as buffers between the ice crystals. This softens the overall structure, which changes how your tongue perceives the smoothness of the dessert. Emulsifiers like egg yolk lecithin help manage this structure by coating air bubbles and helping fat globules coalesce, which contributes to a silkier mouthfeel, even when crystals are present. This infographic shows the true architecture of ice cream, a 30% air foam suspended in a thick polymer gel riddled with millions of microscopic crystals. Protecting this structure requires specific preservation strategies. Keep the temperature below -18 Celsius, store the pint in the back of the freezer to avoid temperature swings, and minimize the time the container spends at room temperature. The next time you find a grainy spoonful, you are looking at a physical history of the pint. That grit is the measurable result of every heat shock the ice cream endured on its way to your spoon.